Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. I've got a bit of bit of lurgy from obviously just the festivities of Christmas and Boxing Day. Hope you had a lovely couple of days. Obviously, West Ham won yesterday, albeit possibly one of the most. I think I said the Brighton game was the most boring match I watched. I think this game was. So that game was almost equally as boring. It's ironic we've had four of the most boring games in I can remember in a long time. However, we're undefeated in four games, and we play a Liverpool side who are in top form on Sunday. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. So we'll start with the build up to that in the next few days. But more importantly, potentially, is that the January transfer window will be opening very shortly. We are but 3 or 4 days away from 2024 closing out and going into 2025. Mental. And so we'll be bringing you the latest news, reviews, and also latest rumours, opinions, all that type of stuff on the West Ham Network. But also check out neesatmybrand.com. Our friends over there, Graham and the gang, with the latest news, rumours, ICKs, in the forums, great forums, and chatting to West Ham fans all over the world. So big fan of that. But let's crack into it. We've got lots to get through, as per usual. And let's start with strikers, shall we? So, what's quite interesting is it does seem that the Hammers striker shortlist is shaping up. Try and say that after a couple of Baileys, but obviously one of the main priorities going into January will be a striker. There's no doubt. We are led to believe that we have a pot of money. I would estimate that between 20 and 30 million pounds to spend on a striker based on the types of strikers we've been linked with. And the latest name to be added to that shortlist is the Leon striker, Jajor Miko Gratse. Yeah, that would do. Us and Everton apparently keeping an interest in the 24-year-old Georgian striker from the beleagued League our club Lyon. Obviously, we still there's still a bit of money owed, vice versa, from Paqueta and Ben Ram, I believe. But according to a report from Foot Mercato, George will be a highly sought after striker in January, and Lyon are likely to part ways with several of their key players next month. And George is one of the ones which they're most likely to get rid of because he has the most interest in a number of clubs around the world, mainly in Europe, obviously. However, a report in AS Roma Live has revealed that the Georgian international is a target of West Ham, Everton, Roma, Bayer Leverkusen, Bologna, Galatasaray, and Juventus, who are all keen to sign him. He's been one of the best attackers in League R for the last year. A native of Lyon, the French-born attacker spent his formative years in France, but also picked Georgia as his national side. He passed through the academy at 4 clubs in France before graduating from the youth division at FC Metz. 24-year-old was a bright spot for Metz last year and has been solid for Lille this year, chipping in 7 goals and 1 assist in 21 appearances. And his progress has not gone unnoticed, as there be several well-known clubs across Europe, including the mighty Hammers and Everton, all interested in him. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. He'll be going somewhere. We were obviously linked to him. You may remember his name. We were linked to him last year when he was at Metz before he went to Lyon. And we didn't go for him there. And again, it does seem that we sort of miss out on these types of players. You know, Victor Cucurella, from Coventry, look how well he's doing at Sporting Lisbon. And sometimes I think we need to... the striker position is so important for West Ham, but we've never seemed to get it right. And indeed, this is... And when I said we've got about 20 to 30 million pounds to spend, this is why, really. Because the types of players we've been linked with, albeit all very different players as well, which again is a bit scattergun. But again, this is who we'll be linked to. Of course, a lot of this is agent talk, paper talk, rather than necessarily West Ham linked players directly. But Yuri Alberto, we've had an interest in, obviously. Tim went to Brazil to try and get him last summer, didn't get him, but apparently he's back on the list. Igor Jesus, from Boavista, Botafogo. He's very interesting as well because obviously there is a potential swap deal with Lucas Paqueta on the cards there. Whether that's true or not, whether that there's any validity in that, we don't know. Evan Ferguson on loan, so I should probably take him out of that bracket. But obviously, we've been linked with him. Jonathan Burkhardt over in Germany, a player I think would be really good. But maybe we've been burnt with our fingers too much with Germans recently already. So whether they decide to go back to the well, I don't know. Latte Lath, we know his agent apparently has been at West Ham's training ground just before Christmas, taking pictures on Instagram. Very clever. And George is in that list now. And I think around 20 to 30 million pounds is roughly what is going to be on the cards there. So we'll keep an eye and see what happens. But there's apparently another name that's back on the list. And that is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I remember speaking about him definitely, maybe not last year, maybe the season before. But according to Team Talk, West Ham are keeping tabs on his situation at Everton. It was reported on Christmas Eve, I think it was, that Newcastle are also monitoring the striker situation, while also several other Serie A clubs are also interested and are in the mix. He is increasingly likely to leave Merseyside this summer when his contract expires at the end of the season, although the Toffees remain hopeful of trying to tie him down to a new deal. Obviously, they go into the new stadium as well. I think what is really interesting with DCL is when he's fit, he's a great player, but it's when he's fit. And again, we do have a tendency of bringing in players who already have some sort of injury record. You look at Kurt Zuma and people like that. And we've obviously then been unfortunate with strikers coming in. Fulkrug hadn't been injured for 4 or 5 years, really, and then has an injury which takes him out for 3 months. Same with Skamaka and various others. DCL, I think what's proven to me in the transfers activity in the last summer, is that the players who have hit the ground running and not needed any time to adjust to the Premier League are the Premier League ready players. Max Kilman and Aaron Wan-Bissaka have just literally taken to this side like a duck to water, whereas the likes of Todibo has taken time. Rodriguez has taken time, still not there in my opinion. Fulkrug obviously injured, and various others. Whereas the Premier League ready players know the speed of the Premier League and stuff. The thing about DCL is you got to keep him fit, and I just don't think I don't think it's not worth taking a risk. However, he is out of contract in the summer, which means it's part of West Ham's MO that obviously weakens. We look for players who are entering the final years of their contract because the transfer budget doesn't stretch that far to buy them when they're in the beginning or in the midst of a contract. Towards the end, they're cheaper, and therefore you can see why they're putting 2 and 2 together. I think more likely to get someone like Jorge or someone like Latte Lath. But again, you look at all of those players; they're all very different. Jorge is not Evan Ferguson. He's not Latte Lath. They're all slightly, which again sort of slightly worries me a little bit that it's scattergun. But again, we're just looking at what's been reported. There's no doubt that we need to bring in, I think, some striker with physical presence. I would love to bring in 2. I'd love to bring a striker with a physical presence, and then bring in someone who's like a real diminutive speedster, a bit like what we're trying to operate with Jared Bowen. But Bowen's not a striker. George A is a good player. I mean, I think he's 6 foot or just under 6 foot, I think. Let me check. I should have probably checked this beforehand, but it doesn't matter. Let me just check it quickly. George A. He is. Press that one. No, he's 5'9". He's nowhere near. Yes, he's very. Evan Ferguson's 6'2", 6'3", something like that, and George A is 5'9". Get both of them, big man, little man. Bring it back. Hearts and Kitson, Dean Ashton and Craig Dawson, Craig Bellamy. But I just can't see I just can't see us putting all our eggs in a DCL basket. In all honesty. Newcastle, you could, because they've got Isaac, and so they've got DCL would definitely be the backup striker. I've got a feeling that a side like Roma or someone like that will be in for him. Juventus is looking at a striker, obviously. George A, someone on there, but also Nicholas Fulkrug, someone who's apparently been offered to him as well, the old lady as well. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in Serie A. to be honest. And sticking with Serie A, according to reports, West Ham, Aston Villa, and Newcastle are all ready to make a move for AC Milan's English centre half, Tomori. He joined Milan from Chelsea in the summer of 2022 for 2021 for £24 million, following a successful loan spell at the San Siro. He enjoyed some initial success, winning the Serie A title in the first season after a permanent move and starting most of Serie A's the matches in Serie A until a hamstring injury last season, and he struggled to win his place back since then. And this season, he's just played just over a third of available minutes in Serie A. His contract doesn't run out until 2027, and according to reports in Italy, Milan are now ready to cash in on him, as he still holds some reasonable transfer value. They state Milan are looking for about 30 million euros, which is about 25 million quid, something like that, for the 27-year-old, who has 5 senior England caps to his name, despite obviously success in Italy. They also apparently have already looked at his replacement in Lazio Spanish centre half Mario Gira. Roma haven't had the best of times at the moment. Although they do face, I think it's Roma and Juventus in a couple of games, I think, or something like that. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see where tomorrow. I mean, do we need a centre half? Well, we could do actually. I mean, we still haven't got the proper diagnosis of what's happened with Max. He went off with a shoulder injury. It looked like. We don't know in terms of the full extent, obviously. But I always think we're one centre half short in terms of what we have. When everyone's fit, we've got 3 sort of first choice centre halves plus Kale and Casey. But then all it takes is one injury, and then we're down to not necessarily the bare bones, but if Max isn't fit for Sunday, then you've got a back 2 of Jean-Claire and Dinos, and that scares me a little bit. Just a couple of very unpredictable defenders. I think you need at least 4 going in. I've always said I think West Ham, our defensive woes happened as soon as you got rid of Craig Dawson, and that's what we really need. I think someone like him who'd be happy to play 3rd, 4th choice fiddle. But when he comes in, he's so I can't see Tomori coming in and wanting to and not be first choice. And we've always spent a lot of money. Well, we've spent 40 odd million on Max, and 30 million. Well, we will be spending 30 million on Jean-Claire, so 70 million pounds on it. If we spend another 25 million on him, unless you can go to a back 3, just can't see it happening. In all honesty, I can see us going and get like maybe a slightly older centre half who will come in a Dawson role. And then that would help the likes of Kale and Casey. I mean, you look in terms of the centre half, world in the academy. You've got Michael Forbes out on loan at Bristol Rovers. You've got Kalen. You've got Ezra Mayers, who was on the bench a couple of weeks ago. I mean, Luis Al will be gone, I imagine, in January, but he's I wouldn't put him near the first team at all. And then below that, you've got people like Edges, Golombeki, so you've got some good centre halves coming through from the academy. But I think now you need 4 recognised senior centre halves, and then you can sort of play. That's why I just think that we're not going to be spending money on someone like Tomori. Just can't see it happening. That money needs to be spent elsewhere. It needs to be spent on a centre forward, and it needs to be spent on a dynamic, energetic central midfielder. We won't get Youssef Fofana, but someone like that. Because we need that energy, we need that drive from the midfield. I mean, you saw yesterday, I thought Flynn Downs pretty much had Soler and most of that midfield in his pocket. I thought he had a really good game, Flynn. It just shows you what, under the right tutelage, you could get. I'm not saying Flynn would be a first choice at West Ham, but nowadays, with the likes of Soler, he gets suspended. Alvarez gets suspended. Souček might get suspensions, and Piquet. Someone like Flynn being a reliable forward. I think we've definitely definitely did a wrong on there in terms of getting rid of him, I think. And that's it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for your time as per usual. I went on a little bit longer than usual because I went on a bit of a rant about who we should bring in. But let me know in the comments below, who do you think we should be targeting in January? I mean, you look for the side. I think that there's obvious gaps in the striker position. Obviously, with Mickey's injury for his crash. I think there's a body extra we need in the central midfield. I think there's a body extra we need in the centre half position. And that's probably it. I mean, fullback's always, I think, an issue. I think that's something we can address in the summer. You're thinking, I mean, Soufal's likely to be offered another deal, I believe. The goalkeeper situation he's addressing in the summer. But in terms of January, in terms of topping up what we need, I would say those are the three priorities for me. Top one being a striker, second being midfielder, and third being a centre half. But let me know what you think. And don't forget to check out These Are Mother Brown for latest news, reviews, and opiniones. So take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and don't eat too much turkey because you've got to throw it away soon. You've had, it's a couple of days, but you had it now. I knew someone who had a turkey and he had it for like a week and then he got food poisoning. And on that cheery note, ta-ta.